Deep in the misty mountains of the Philippines, people whisper about a creature that stalks the jungle paths at night. The Tikbalang, a towering demon with the head of a horse, fiery red eyes, and legs so long that its knees reach above its head when sitting. They say the Tikbalang waits on mountain trails, hiding in the fog. Travelers who pass through hear hoofbeats behind them, though no horse is there. If they follow the sound, they never return. The Tikbalang may be one of the scariest creatures from Filipino folklore, but it's far from the only one. Over the years, stories have spread across the country about monsters lurking in trees, ghosts haunting houses, and malevolent spirits possessing people. And while some of these tales may sound similar to stories from other cultures, others are truly unique. But what are some of the most terrifying monsters from Filipino folklore? Let's find out. Before we get into this video, I just want to clear something up. The Philippines isn't just one island. It's an entire archipelago made up of thousands of different islands. As such, it should come as no surprise that not all Filipinos believe in the same things. In fact, each region has its own unique blend of beliefs and monsters. For example, take the Manananggal, a creature found in many different cultures throughout Asia. In the Philippines, it's usually depicted as a woman by day, but a terrifying monster by night. According to those who've seen one, the Manananggal's wings fold out from its back when it flies around at night looking for blood to drink. But even though it can be found throughout the Philippines, different regions have different names for it and different beliefs about how it attacks. In Luzon, they say the Manananggal takes the form of a beautiful woman who preys on men. Once she finds a victim, she brings him home and ties him up before transforming into her true form. Then she sucks the blood out of her victim, sometimes even eating their insides. Other times, the Manananggal will simply stand over her prey and rip their innards apart with her bare hands, taking extra care to remove their livers and hearts, which she eats first. In Visayas, the Manananggal is much more monstrous and doesn't bother with disguises. Instead, it lures its victims by perching on rooftops and letting out a blood-curdling screech. Anyone foolish enough to answer is then taken away in the middle of the night and eaten alive. Finally, in Mindanao, the Manananggal is known to attack during the day as well. In fact, people have reported seeing entire groups of them flying around and screaming. When they land, they often leave behind a foul-smelling purple or black substance that looks like human excrement. But if you were to eat any of it, you would immediately fall very ill. But even though the Manananggal may be one of the most famous monsters from Filipino folklore, it's certainly not the only one. Let's meet a few more of the creepiest creatures from Filipino culture. The Encanto is another monster that goes by many different names, but it's usually depicted as a kind of dwarf-like creature that lives deep within the forest. Sometimes they're said to be good-natured, but other times they're incredibly vicious. In fact, it's believed that if you enter their territory, they could curse you with a sickness that would eventually drive you insane. If that wasn't bad enough, the ancients also believed the Encanto were shapeshifters. They could take the forms of animals, plants, rocks, or even beautiful women. And they had a particular affinity for gold. In fact, there were many stories about Encantos stealing gold from unsuspecting miners and hiding it in underground lairs. That's why Filipino miners always took great pains to avoid disturbing the Encanto's home. Speaking of strange creatures with a love for precious metals, let's talk about the Aswang. This creature is actually an umbrella term used to describe several different monsters, but they all share one thing in common: a voracious appetite for human organs. Aswangs are often described as bloated, hairless creatures with huge fangs, claws, and wings. Some say they look like monkeys, while others say they look more like bats. No matter what they look like, though, they're almost always depicted as evil and incredibly cunning. In fact, one story from Aklan tells the tale of a woman who was being stalked by an aswang. The creature had already taken the lives of several women in the village, and the townspeople were starting to panic. Luckily, a brave man volunteered to stay in the victim's house and protect her from the aswang, but despite his efforts, the monster managed to break in. When the brave man went to investigate, he found the woman asleep in bed, but something was off. Her breathing seemed strange, and her abdomen was moving in unnatural ways. Suddenly, the woman opened her eyes and revealed her true form, which, according to the man, looked like a dog. She lunged at him and scratched him all over the body. Then she flew off into the night. It turned out the woman had been possessed by an aswang, and her protector had fallen gravely ill from her scratches. Unfortunately, there was nothing anyone could do, and the man died from his wounds soon after. While the aswang is definitely a terrifying beast, it's nowhere near as elusive as the Tik. Unlike the aswang, which usually appears in more traditional monster stories, the Tikbalang seems to be more closely related to folklore creatures like the Baba Yaga from Slavic mythology and the Wendigo from Native American legends. All three are gigantic horse-like creatures that lure travelers away from their path and lead them into dangerous places. However, the Tikbalang is still unique in many ways. For starters, it's usually depicted as a trickster figure, meaning it doesn't just want to kill its victims, it wants to play with them first. For example, imagine you're walking down a dark path at night. Suddenly you hear hoofbeats behind you, though you can't see anything in the fog. You keep walking, but the hoofbeats get louder. Finally, you turn around to find a massive horse staring directly at you. Its eyes glow bright red in the darkness and its legs seem to stretch on forever. Then it opens its mouth and you see that it's grinning from ear to ear. At this point, most people would probably run away, but that's exactly what the Tikbalang wants. According to legend, it will keep following you, keeping just out of your sight until you start to lose your mind from fear. Once it sees you're scared enough, it will pounce and end your life. So if you ever hear hoofbeats in the jungle, make sure to keep your wits about you. And whatever you do, don't look behind you because if you do, you might just find yourself face to face with a Tikbalang. Thanks for watching. Do you know of any other terrifying monsters from Filipino folklore? If so, please share with us in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.